Something I learned in street photography, which could probably apply to all different types of photography, is be prepared to be surprised. So earlier last week, I went out on a date with my partner and we were heading to the Showplace Icon. And if you're in Chicago, that's a great place to check out. And prior to going out, I told her, let's get there 2 hours early so I can take an hour to shoot. We can have an hour for food and then we can go see the movie and chill out afterwards. And so we were gonna go see Uncharted. Great movie, go check it out. But that was the plan. We hopped in the car and I started video mode where I was taking some POV shots of my drive there. I was taking some stills while on the highway. So I planned out this whole thing in my head. And that's who I am, I'm a planner. And so I intended to shoot for a certain amount of time. I knew where I was gonna go and I had the intention of being a fisher while out there. Now in street photography, there are terms called fishers and hunters. Fishers are those who wait for the shot that they're looking for to come, whereas hunters go out searching for the shots that they want. And so knowing that I was going to be in this really interesting, bustling area with lots of windows, I was going to do some reflection shots. And in doing that, I knew I had to be a fisher and wait for those moments that I can just capture and it'd be good to go. But once I got there, a lot of problems started to happen. First thing, I realized a little too late that the batteries that I put in my camera were not fresh batteries. They weren't charged. And that's the one mistake you should never do as a photographer. And silly me, I took the wrong pair of batteries. And so I ended up with not a lot of shots. Second issue, my partner decided that they no longer wanted to be patient with my process. And so being a fisher is definitely not something for everyone. And they are not a photographer, but I am, and that's my style. And so for them, it's not something that they realized that it's not something that they wanted to do. And so I was being rushed to find something to shoot, and rather than being a fisher, I was kind of forced to be a hunter. Third issue, and also one of the biggest in photography, or at least street photography, is that there weren't people around, which was very surprising for an area that's usually pretty populated. Even though it's small, it's pretty populated. It was fairly empty. And so I wasn't able to get people in my shots. And I was really bummed out because I had this whole plan and it seemed like I wasn't able to execute it. And so solutions, what did I do? I decided, I'm just gonna shoot what I can while I'm here. I knew that I had taken some stills while I was on the drive, and I didn't think they were any good anyway. I kind of intended to delete them or just not even use them for anything because I was just kind of using those stills as a warm-up until I got to the destination, being the area that we were gonna go see the movie. And so I just decided, just shoot something. Worst that can happen is I get nothing. Maybe I'll get one good shot out of it, but still, just shoot something. So when I made the decision to just shoot something, I was really dreading looking in my memory card to see what I had captured, because I just knew, I felt that, I didn't get anything worth showing or worth posting on social media. I was just really bummed out. And so in my head, I was just like, well, at least I got some practice in. So I took 2-3 days away from my camera and then decided to look in my SD card and see what it is that I actually shot. And so I actually surprised myself. I saw a couple of good shots where I was just like, okay, this could be something. Let me go ahead and put it in Lightroom and do some editing, some color correcting and color grading, and hopefully it looks really good. And so that's what I did. And I realized that maybe some of these shots look kind of experimental, edgy, dark almost. And I decided to just post it on social media. So I got some cool feedback from the images I posted. One person said that it reminds them of something film noir-like, very cinematic, especially the stills that I took while on the road. And another person gave me one of, well, what I thought was one of the highest compliments I could ever receive on a photo. And the compliment was that it reminds them of an Edward Hopper painting, Nighthawks. And if you don't know who that is or what the painting is that I'm referencing, it's definitely worth a Google. And I was just like, wow, this is pretty nice. And the picture that reminded them of that painting in particular was this one here. And I was honestly just grateful to have received such compliments, especially for pictures that I thought weren't my best, but just to know that people found it really interesting, and it just made me feel really good. And so I learned a couple of lessons from this whole experience that I'd love to share. One, photography is a field where you have to roll with the punches because something's always going to happen, whether it's with your client, whether it's with the environment, whether it's with your battery dying. So always be prepared for that. And you can always spend so much time planning and creating all these preparations, but we never prepare for the unexpected. So yes, definitely plan. That's important. And also give yourself room to adapt. And that's the second lesson. Always be adaptable so that these situations don't throw you off your game. And I'm glad that I was able to do that, even though I had all of these circumstances happening. I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to still shoot anyway and see what comes out of it. And so being adaptable was one of the best things that I could do for myself in that situation. Third lesson that I want to share with all of you, and I hope it inspires someone, is forgive yourself for not being where you thought you'd be by now. And that is a lesson that I learned a couple years ago from a spoken word poet, and I've applied that to my life consistently, especially to photography, and it really has humbled me and has also made me feel comfortable going into what seems like a very uncertain career path, that is photography. And so I hope someone takes that lesson and can apply it to themselves, and it helps them in their journey, regardless of what it is, photography or not. And the last lesson, and I think I've reiterated it throughout this whole video, is give yourself permission to be surprised. You never know what you can shoot in the moment or even can find after a shoot in post. And so giving yourself that room to find gems out of even moments that you think are crap or terrible is something that I think can really help you along your journey as a photographer or even in life. And so those are my takeaways from the experience that I had recently. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the content that I'll be giving you now and in the future. And I'll see you in the next one.